Good morning, everyone. This is Michelle Maglinis again, and today I am going to make a short video presentation about the different kinds of events that mark the Philippines in nationalism. The first one is the rise of the liberal ideas. Liberalism in the nearly 19th century stood for freedom for the individual and equality to all before the law of the new middle classes. It means freedom of equality before law. It included end of the aristocracy and clerical privileges. It meant to representative government through parliaments. Classical liberals were committed to individualism, liberty, and equal rights. They believed this goals required a free economy with minimal government interference, and some elements of Whiggery were uncomfortable with the commercial nature of classical liberalism. This kind of elements became associated with conservatism. The other one is the development in international trading. We all know that way back then, our way of business or exchanging or in trading, it's called barter chains. In the international trade in goods and services, it is important for poverty eradications and sustainable development. By fostering economics growth through the trade growth, international trade contributes to addressing poverty reductions. Because of that, food security, job creation, gender equality, environmental sustainability, trade has been part of economic development for centuries. It has the potential to be a significant force for reducing global poverty by spurring economic growth, creating jobs, reducing prices, increasing the variety of goods for consumers, and helping countries acquire new technologies. So, because of the different types of trading we have in the past, uh, uh, we are what do you call this one? We are enjoying this time the effect of the trading system in our history, because uh, it is also considered as a factor um, uh, of what we become right now regarding with the business or in the trading field we are experiencing now. The third one is the political instability in Spain. So, as we all know, Spain in the 19th century was a country in turmoil, occupied by Napoleon from 1808 to 1814. A massively destructive liberations war ensued. A constitution hallmark of Spanish liberalism was proclaimed in 1812. A rebellion in Spain was also suppressed through only after several years. Foreshadowing during more than a century of recurrent political instability, the revolutions also confirmed Spain's loss of most of its American colonies, which had first risen during the Napoleonic occupations. So, in this time, because of the political instability in Spain, there are what you call this one. There are it's starting to come the Americans, and then there's a rebellion between them, because of also the Filipinos saw or seen the how they treated the Filipinos. So, because of this one, it is also effect of how it also the factor, I mean to say, that marked down the Philippine nationalism. um, by the administration of Carlos Maria de la Torre. Carlos Maria de la Torre y Navacerrada was a Spanish soldier and politician. He also served as a governor general of the Philippines from 1869 to 1871, and this is considered to be the most beloved of the Spanish governors generals ever signed in the Philippines. He abolished flogging, relaxed media censorship, and began limited secularization of education. He was also very close to the Ilustrados, a group of Filipinos who understood the situation of the Philippines under the Spanish rule. So, because of this happening also, and the administration of Carlos Maria de la Torre, it's also marked as one of the important uh, event happens in our Philippine nationalism. The next one is the issue of escolarization. The Escolarization Movement in the Philippines was a movement in the Philippines under also in the Spanish colonial administration from the 18th to the late 19th century for greater rights for native Filipino Roman Catholic clergymen. The movement had significant implications to Filipino nationalism and the Philippine Revolution. We all know that the agitations for escolarization precipitated the execution of Father Gomez, Burgos, and the Zamora, the three martyr priest, which in turn endangered the seed of discontent among the Filipino reformists, which in turn fanned the flame of the Philippine revolutionary. Because also of these issues, this is also one of the reason why the Filipino um, motivated to fight to get our freedom, because they see the conducting of the Spanish to us Filipino. They see violence. They see how our countrymen suffer from their how they rule our country. So uh, a lot of Filipino plan to have revolutions, and this one and it leads to the execution of the Gamborsa. Gamborsa is the alternatively stylized as Gamborsa or Gamborsa, refers to the three Filipino Catholic priests, Mariano Gomez, Jose Borgas, and Jacinto Zamora, who were executed in Garoti on 17th of February in 1872 in Bagumbayan, Philippines by the Spanish colonial authorities on charges of subversions arising from the 1872 Cavite Mutiny. And on February 17, 1872, he was one of the priests executed due to the false accusations of treasons and seditions, taking a supposed active role in the Cavite Mutiny. He was later on the sentenced to death by garrote in a military court at the Bagumbayan felt. And because of this, the first wave of struggle against the Spaniard, the revolutions against Spain has two phases. The first, from the declarations of defiance against Spanish rule on August 23, 1896, till the conclusions of a truce in December 1897, and the second from the return till the outbreak of the Filipino-American War in February 1899. Because of the revolution against Spain, it was sparked in 1896 after the Spanish authorities discovered the Katipunan, it is a Filipino revolutionary society plotting against their colonizers. It ended in 1902, where Spanish lost and ceded sovereignty of the Philippines to the United States. So it said that because um, of the how the Filipino they have united, so they find ways to defeat the Spanish colonies, and with the help also of the Americans. So because of the assimilation also of the Philippines from the Spain, the Philippines were ceded to the United States by Spain for $200 million by the Treaty of Paris, signed on December 10, 1898. So, on December 21, 1898, President McKinley issued the Benevolent Assimilations Proclamations kuno, in which outlined his colonizing policies in the Philippines. So, after the Spanish colonized the Philippines, and now the American also, um, but through President McKinley issued on beloved transmission proclamations which outline his colonizing policies in the Philippines. Spain had three objectives in its policy towards the Philippines: its only colony in the Asia, to acquire a share in the spice trade, to develop contact with China and Japan in order to further Christian missionary efforts there, and to convert the Filipino to Christianity. We have also here the Reformists. The Reformism is a political doctrine advocating the reform of an existing system or institution instead of its abolitions and replacement. Reforms usually imply that changes are made to existing structures, mainly the government structures, while revolution often entails the complete disruptions and the radical change of the status quo, reform and revolutions aim at changing, generally improving by political and social conditions of groups of individuals. So, this is also one of the factor why or how the events that marks the Philippine nationalism. After the Reformists, we have also heard the rebellion of the Filipinos. As we all know, there's a lot of rebellion that Filipinos did, like the Gohoy, the Gohoy revolt, and also the revolt of Poli. But as we all know, in the fall of 1896, Filipino nationalists revolts against the Spain rule that had controlled the Philippines since the 16th century. Led by Emilio Aguinaldo in 1869 to 1964, the 1896 revolt carried the Filipinos to an anticipated war with Spain and an anticipated war with the United States. The resistance in the Moro-dominated provinces in the south, called the Moro Rebellion by the Americans, ended with their final defeat at the Battle of Bagsak on June 15, 1913. The war resulted in at least 20,000 Filipino civilians' death, mostly due to famine and disease. So, because of these wars, there's a lot of Filipino died, and also they suffer from they suffer from the disease, and most of the people who died as female and have a weak what do you call this one, weak body steam, so they cannot fight long to survive in this battle. So, and after this we have the Philiposterismo. El Filiposterismo is the second novel written by Philippine national hero Jose Rizal. It also served as a sequel to his No Limitang Here. El Filia, it is properly called El Fili, is a political novel full of bitterness, sorrow, pain, violence, and vengeance to awaken the Filipino people against the abusive masters. The story of No Limitang Hiri and El Filibusterismo gives off a societal message that the citizens should be the leaders of its governing body and not other way around. That strength lies in the numbers of Filipinos who wants to change something inappropriate or give voices to those who suffer injustice. So, as we all know, Dr. Rizal, he is the writer of the El Filibusterismo. Through his book, and he inspired the Filipino, and he awakened the Filipino to fight for our rights, to fight for our freedom, to fight for what really belongs to us. So this also through the book of Jose Rizal, this is also marked down in our Philippine history, or the Philippine nationalism. And aside from the El Filibusterismo and No Limitang Hiri, there's also a one book that called La Liga Filipina. La Liga Filipina was a secret organization. It was founded by Jose Rizal in the house of Doroteo Hongko at Ilaya Street, Tondo, Manila on July 3, 1892. The organizations derived from the La Solidaridad and the propaganda movement. The organization derived from the La Solidaridad and the propaganda movement. The purpose of La Liga Filipina was to build a new group that sought to involve the people directly in the reform movement. The propaganda movement did not succeed in its pursuits of reforms because of the colonial government did not agree to any of its demands. So Spain itself was undergoing a lot of internal problems all the time, which could explain why the mother country failed to heed the Filipino petitions. So we have also here the organizations of reform. Public sector institutional reform attempts to change institutions and the way they functions. The underlying incentives and norms that shapes behavior in organizations rather than the formal organizational structures, rules, process, and however, reform frequently presents an opportunity to structures, enterprises, or the whole economy in a way that help to achieve long-term objectives such as sustain long-term economic growth and employment. Changes in income distributions, improve access to basic needs, and more. The Reformations is said to have begun when Martin Luther posted his 95 theses on the door of the Castle's Church in Wittenberg, Germany on October 31, 1517. It learned more about Lutheran theses by 1830, where men and women like Frederick Douglass and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who devoted most of their adult lives to reform causes. Three of these movements remain especially well known as of today. So, we have also here the La Solidaridad. The La Solidaridad, or the Solidarity, was an organization created in Spain on December 13, 1888, composed of Filipino liberals exiled in 1872. The student attending Europe universities, the organizations aim to increase Spanish awareness of the needs of its colony, the Philippines, and to propagate the closer relationship between the Philippines and the Spain. Headed by Dr. Jose Rizal's cousin, Gallicano Apacibol. It also issued a newspaper of the same name, which was published in Barcelona, Spain, on February 15, 1889. It was edited by Graciano Lopez Haina and later on by Marcelo H. del Pilar. The social, cultural, and economic conditions of the colonial Philippines were published in La Solidaridad. Of the Spanish liberals about the Philippines were also featured in the newspapers. So, from these things, this is the just a few factors that contributes to or how this is the kinds of events that mark down the Philippine nationalism. So, if we go back to our history, this certain event or happenings, and it has a big impact to us now because of the history. It also our identity also as a Filipino, that because of our persistence, perseverance, and dedications to get our independence, um, we 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 fight as one, and we keep ourselves that we should fight to get our freedom. And because of that's happening in the past, we are what you call this one, we are enjoying now our democracy. And I think this is my report for tonight. And thank you for listening, and hope you get a few informations about the different events that mark down the Philippine nationalisms in the Philippines. And thank you for watching.